Alright, so for today's video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at each and every single stage 2 team Affinity Diamond, and I'm going to be giving them a pass or a fail in terms of a grade. I will be having a video coming out where I rank them 1 through 30 in terms of who you should get first, etc. But you guys are going to have to give me a little bit more time because I would have to crunch all the stats, attributes, arsenals, etc., positions they play and the importance of it in the game, and then come out with basically what I would believe is the most accurate list 1 through 30. So that will probably come out either tomorrow or Tuesday. So keep that in mind. Subscribe if you're new so you don't miss out on that. And since there are 30 teams, let's go for 30 likes. So we're going to start off with the Baltimore Orioles, of course, because they are the first team there. So they have Ryan Mountcastle. Now, Ryan is an excellent hitter. He has above 80 power against both sides, so that means that a perfect fly ball should be leaving the ballpark every single time, because according to SDS, all you need is 80 plus power in order for a perfect fly ball to be a home run every single time, except when you're playing in polo grounds, etc. So 86 vision, it translates to Hall of Fame and legend. Now the downside to this card is his secondary positions and primary positions. Here's why. So first base, you don't really need defense for. So if you want him to be your first baseman, there's no problem there. He actually passes. But first base is also the position that has the most amount of diamonds in any Diamond Dynasty game. So most of them are just like him. They're great hitters, terrible defenders. There's nothing really that separates him too much from, let's say, a prime Todd Helton, or even Big Papi, or even Adam Dunn, whose secondary position is first base. You'd probably want Adam Dunn there, despite Adam Dunn having lower vision, just because he has more power and a cheat code swing. Now, his fielding, arm strength, arm accuracy, and reaction. First of all, his arm strength, that is common arm strength out of 59. His fielding, reaction, and accuracy, that is bronze. If you put him at third base, he doesn't survive because he doesn't have the reaction and he doesn't have the arm strength either. And then left field, he's not going to survive either. He doesn't have the reaction, he doesn't have the fielding, and he doesn't have the arm to play left field either, unless you're playing, of course, in Fenway Park. Then he's a little bit more usable. But once you take him out of first base and put him at a secondary position, you also have to keep in mind that every single fielding attribute is going to drop down in terms of fielding and reaction. So instead of a 63, it might be a 60, or excuse me, instead of a 68, it might be a 63. Instead of a 65 in terms of reaction, it might be a 60, and that's borderline bronze. You don't want that at third base, because anything close 50-50, he's not making the catch. I'll tell you that right now. Next up, we're going to the Boston Red Sox. So the Boston Red Sox, they have another third baseman that really just surprised me. I said, we got Rafael Devers at 50. Or yes, it was 50. You're going to give us another third baseman at 120 that has exactly the same secondary positions? That doesn't make any sense. Now, who he reminds me of instantly is Joey Gallo, to be honest. He has power, low vision, great defense, and alright speed. He's basically Joey Gallo. But if you have the opportunity to bring in Joey Gallo, who is a lefty, and put him at third base for just 50 program stars, or not 50 program stars, but 50 program points for the Texas Rangers, why in the world would you grind 120 program points for the Boston Red Sox? It just doesn't make any sense. I give the Orioles, by the way, because I don't remember whether or not I said it, I fail him or give him an F. And then Bobby, I'm going to be failing him as well. There's no point in really going after him. Rafael Devers, he's a third baseman, and he probably is just as good as him, considering Rafael Devers always has had a cheat code swing in the game. Yeah, the fielding is very appealing, but you can literally stick Joey Gallo there and get almost identical fielding, identical arm strength, arm accuracy, and reaction. It's just the truth. The vision is horrible. It's not translating to Hall of Fame. It's not translating to legend. So you're going to be stuck on All-Star if you want to use him. Now, going on to the New York Yankees, we have, I believe it's Dane, or excuse me, that's the White Sox. We have Clark Schmidt. Now, looking at his arsenal, it's very appealing. He has a sinker, a curveball, a changeup, fastball, slider, every single pitch you want your starting pitcher to have. And then he has 86 walks per 9. So that means that the pitch will most likely go where you want it to go, because that's a pretty high walk per 9. Now his K per 9 and hit per 9, They're not too high, but they're good enough to actually go ahead and dominate, let's say, on Hall of Fame and Legend pitch speeds, which is definitely something you want. He has 95 break on that sinker, which is also a plus. It being 93 miles per hour, it can probably come in at 95, 96, which is exceptional for a person that has that as his primary pitch. Secondary pitch being a curveball, that means that it has a lot of break. Now the only downside to him is just the fact that his off speeds, they're relatively all at the same speed. So if he would have had a much slower, let's say, curveball at like 72, that would have made him a much more effective pitcher. But nonetheless, with that arsenal and his attributes, he passes. So we have so far 2 fails, 1 pass. Next up, Tampa Bay Rays. Now, based on my previous Team Affinity videos, you should know that he's passing 100%. Great contact, power, not really there, but he's not there to hit home runs nonetheless. He has excellent vision, 100% passing a Hall of Fame on Legend, no doubt in my mind. He has 1 point away from diamond fielding. In the game, it's going to be gold, of course, because it's an 89, and he has gold reaction as well. So what more could you ask for out of a second baseman? He's basically Ryan Sandberg without the power, but with more speed and being able to be a switch hitter. So he is going to be amazing. He reminds me a lot also of Roberto Alomar in terms of attributes. The only thing he's missing is the pop, which he doesn't have, unfortunately, but it's all right. I think a more fair comparison would be Omar Vizquel, but the second base version. I think that's 100% a great comparison for this card. I passed it as well. So far, 2 failures, 2 passes, and then we go to the Toronto Blue Jays. So the Toronto Blue Jays, they get themselves a shortstop, Kevin Smith. So looking at his numbers, he got reverse splits. He's better against right-handers than he is against left-handers. Then looking at the fielding, he only has 75, so that means it's silver. And then reaction 78, which means it's silver as well. Excellent speed, excellent stealing as well. The vision at a 68, it should translate to Hall of Fame, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult for it to translate on Legend, but it should be okay, I should say, on Legend. Now, the attributes, they just don't make the cut. If you're looking for a shortstop and you're looking at these attributes, you're saying to yourself, it just doesn't make the cut. I can get myself the Yankees Gleyber Torres for 50 program points, and he's all around a better card than this. So does Kevin Smith pass? No, he fails as well. So 3 failures, 2 passes in the American League East, and then we're going to the White Sox. So the White Sox, they have Dane Dunning. Similar to Clark, he has a sinker, curveball, slider, 4-seam, changeup, and it feels like that's actually repeated, where the sinker is the primary, curveball is the secondary. So he has a way higher K per 9 than Clark, but he has a lower walk per 9 than Clark, which means he's going to be a tad more difficult to actually control in terms of pitches. But nonetheless, he is a great card that passes 100% because of the arsenal, because of the pitch speeds difference. I mean, he's throwing a slider in there at 85 miles per hour, and then he can throw you a curveball at 78. So that's roughly 7 miles per hour in terms of difference. And then the changeup, which has similar movement to the curveball, that's only a 3 miles per hour difference. So that's where it's a little bit sketch and it hurts a little bit more. But if you're able to mix the sinker with the changeup, and then let's say the curveball with the slider or curveball with the sinker as well, you'll be in good hands. I think he's a great card, and I also pass him. Next up, we're going to the Cleveland Indians. Now the Cleveland Indians got Nolan Jones, and I know as soon as everybody saw him, they were saying yippee. I mean, why wouldn't you? He has Joey Gallo numbers basically. Vision at a 59. I'm not 100% positive what Joey Gallo's Team Affinity card's vision is, but I'm positive that we can check that out right now. So before I say anything else, let me go ahead and check it out really quickly. So it's a 28, so that's atrocious vision. We're on the Indians right now, so he has almost twice the vision that Joey Gallo has. So great numbers. I really like this card because of his secondary positions, and then looking at his fielding and reaction. So let's say you take away 5 from fielding, 5 from reaction. His reaction drops to bronze, his fielding stays silver, but because of the arm strength and arm accuracy, he can definitely play one of the corner outfields. Because of the speed, it's a little bit more worrisome. And because of the lack of reaction once it drops, let's say 5 points or even 4 points, because of the lack of reaction, it makes it a little bit more sketch. It would be like having Giancarlo Stanton out there in the outfield, and I don't know if anybody has used Giancarlo Stanton, but he's not great, basically. But looking at his numbers, great numbers against right, great numbers against left. The vision, it should translate to Hall of Fame. Versus legend, you'll survive if you're a very good hitter. If you're not a very good hitter, then you're going to struggle a little bit more, of course. Him being a lefty is also a humongous plus, but you could easily get yourself Joey Gallo, and it would almost be the same kind of player, except this player right here would be way better by a mile than Joey Gallo in terms of contact numbers. 100% going to give him a pass, although I really like his secondary positions, and even if you don't want him at third base, you can definitely slot him in at left field or right field, which makes him usable 100% of the way. And then we're going to the Tigers here. It's Das Cameron, or Daz Cameron. I gave him a Spanish last name. I don't know why. So looking at his numbers, you're saying to yourself, what exactly am I supposed to see here? Well, this is basically the worst defending Byron Buxton and worst speed Byron Buxton, but a little bit of a better hitter than Byron Buxton. He fails 100% because you can get yourself Byron Buxton, and yeah, Byron Buxton doesn't have the same power or contact versus left, but he will basically give you probably, if not the same, even more than this Daz Cameron, just because he's a way better fielder and has way better speed. The vision is relatively close to the same, and Byron Buxton, he has a cheat code swing. Trust me, he has pop. I use him all the time. And then we got ourselves the Kansas City Royals. So the Kansas City Royals, they got themselves a starting pitcher, Brady Singer, sinker, slurve, four-seam, changeup. I like him because of his control. Walk per 9 out of 96 is excellent. That is beyond what you would want on a starting pitcher, which means he will 100% locate. Now, would I have liked to see a slider on him? 100%. But if he doesn't throw that in real life, what are you going to do about it? You really can't. So he doesn't have great velocity, so he's not really overpowering pitchers, or overpowering hitters, I should say. I say he's definitely a hitter that's going to survive on, or not going to survive, excuse me, on All-Star. And then I think he's more usable in Hall of Fame, and then on Legend because the off speed is relatively around the same miles per hour, and then the fastball and sinker, they don't surprise anyone being low 90s. I don't think he's really usable. So the only place I see him being okay at is Hall of Fame. I'm going to go ahead, despite him having great control, give him a failure here, and then we're going to move on to the Minnesota Twins. So Minnesota Twins, you got Byron Buxton there, and then you have Alex, we're not going to pronounce that, but Alex, like him a lot actually. So similar to the Indians, his reaction is what worries you, especially if you look to put him at a secondary position, which is what you would most likely do, because at first base, he just doesn't fit. Now, fielding is a lot higher, so he should be a little bit better than the Indians card in terms of the outfield. He doesn't have more power than the Indians card, but his contact makes up for that, of course. And then his vision being a 92, that's going to translate to Hall of Fame, and 100% going to translate to Legend too. I'm also passing him. Whether he's better than the Indians card, I would have to look at the numbers much more closely before I can give you guys an answer. So you guys would have to wait, let's say, until tomorrow for that. And then looking at Brandon Marsh from the Angels, what we have here is great numbers in terms of hitting. What I would call him is Byron Buxton on steroids in terms of hitting, and then because he took the steroids to help him hit, he became a lot slower. That's basically what it is. His fielding regressed, and then his speed regressed as well, but it's still very good fielding and very good speed. Of course, you'd have him on center field, or in center field I should say. Vision translates to Hall of Fame. It's a little bit harder to use on Legend, but it's definitely usable, and the power numbers are great as well. I give this card a pass 100%. We're going to the Oakland Athletics next. Oakland Athletics, they have Jorge Mateo. Now, I don't know what they did with the shortstops, but almost every single shortstop I have looked at, I'm like, he had an opportunity to be great. You look at the speed and you say, wow. You look at the fielding and reaction, you say, wow. You see he can play second in the field, you say, wow. And then you look at his contact and power versus right plus vision, and you say, okay, that hurts a little bit to see. He's a platoon hitter, meaning he's better against lefties, and then he struggles against right-handers. With 62 vision, it's going to be harder for you to actually excel with him on Hall of Fame, and way harder for him to excel on Legend. The only thing I could see him really being on anyone's team is a pinch runner. So for that, I'm going to have to go ahead and fail him. Next up, we're going to the Texas Rangers. The Texas Rangers, on the other hand, they have Josh Young. Now, Josh Young, he has really good fielding, or not really good, but he has good enough fielding at 80. No secondaries, so that sucks. His vision is a 90, so that means it translates anywhere. But you have so many third base options that he just doesn't jump out at anyone, and that's just the hard truth. He's not going to jump out at anyone. He has great vision that's going to translate on Hall of Fame and Legend, and his power is good enough, especially against lefties. Versus righties, it's okay. It's actually better than okay, but it's not good enough to be a home run every single time you perfect it up, which of course stings a little bit. Overall, I say he fails as well, because you can get way better third basemen than him, 100%. So you might want to get the Cleveland Indians third baseman before you even focus on that guy. And then we're going to the Houston Astros. Now my man right here has a changeup, slider, and a curveball with a 95 miles per hour fastball. He has a great K per 9. Great walk per 9, but just the fact that there's really no differential in his off speed, and then you can sit fastball, react to off speed, or sit off speed, react to fastball. It's just going to make him super easy to hit on All-Star, on Hall of Fame, and on Legend, despite him having good attributes. So for that, I'm going to go ahead and fail him as well. Now we're going to the National League, and we start off with someone very interesting. We start off with the Atlanta Braves. They have themselves Kyle Wright. Now Kyle Wright, four-seamer, slider, curveball, sinker, changeup. Has every single pitch you want. And then you go ahead and look at his slider, and you look at his curveball. There's a 7 miles per hour difference, which is pretty good. 78 walk per 9 means that it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to locate with him, but he has excellent hits per 9 and Ks per 9. Just trust me here. He passes 100%. I like the speed differentials, and 94 miles per hour in terms of a sinker is actually pretty dirty. It means it can reach like 95, 96. Fastball at 96 means it reaches 97, 98. And then when you can come and throw a changeup at 82 and have like a 12 miles per hour speed differential, or a curveball at 80 and have like a 14 miles per hour speed differential, that's really effective, especially on Hall of Fame and Legend. And now we're going to the Miami Marlins. So the Miami Marlins, they actually got probably the best shortstop available in terms of Stage 2 Team Affinity Diamonds. He has good speed, excellent fielding, and then his hitting is good against right-handers. He has the power against left-handers. The only downside is his vision. It translates to Hall of Fame. A little bit more difficult on Legend, but if you're a good hitter, it doesn't really matter. You're going to be popping regardless. I think overall this is a good card. The best shortstop out of all the shortstops. I give him a pass. Now we're going to the Mets. Well, I'm pretty sure got a shortstop as well. And this shortstop, on the other hand, great contact hitter. His power numbers, obviously, are very similar to the second baseman from the Tampa Bay Rays. Good speed, great fielding, great reaction. He's like Ryan Sandberg, basically. Maybe even has a bit more reaction than him. And then 86 vision. He'll translate to Hall of Fame. He'll translate to Legend. I think that the fact that he doesn't have really too much power at the shortstop level is not too much of a problem. I definitely think he's usable, especially him being a lefty. So I'm going to go ahead and give him a pass 100% of the way here. And now we're going to go to the Philadelphia Phillies. And the main reason he passes is just for the simple fact he's a shortstop, which is one of the harder positions to find good players at. And contact hitters at short are like Ozzie Smith without being switch hitters. So then we have Adonis Medina. So 94, 93, 77, 83, 85. What jumps out is that 77 miles per hour sweeping curve. Now, the only unfortunate thing about that sweeping curve is a sweeping curve and a slider. They're two pitches that have very similar movements. But what makes this guy right here excellent is the fact that his difference is basically 8 miles per hour between the sweeping curve and the slider, which means that obviously they can be on the slider, and since the sweep and curve has a similar movement, when you throw that one, they're going to be earlier because they're going to think it's a slider, but it's actually a sweep and curve. So walks per 9, not too great, but hits per 9 and Ks per 9 are pretty good. I give him a pass. I think he is a lot more usable than people probably give him credit for. His fastball probably reaches 97, sinker 95 miles per hour. I definitely think he's a good card, and one that I probably am going to end up getting and using, probably debuting for you all. So second base, Luis Garcia, platoon hitter, better against right-handers, but not a platoon power hitter. Good enough defense, good enough speed, and vision translates to Hall of Fame and legend. I'm going to go ahead and give him a pass as well here. Not really much for me to say. He has secondaries at short and third, even though he loses that gold tier defense at short and third, so you might want to watch out for that. And then we go to the Chicago Cubs. The Chicago Cubs got themselves a second baseman. This second baseman has great vision, translates to Hall of Fame, translates to legend, good speed, good fielding. He can play shortstop even though he loses that gold fielding. Center field, same situation. And then 85 reaction. You're basically going to want to have the guy at second base. He reminds me of a less juiced version than Ryan Sandberg, to be honest with you all. I think he passes as well, 100%. We go now to the Cincinnati Reds. And the Cincinnati Reds, they have a lefty starting pitcher, Nick Lodolo, or Lodolo. I'm not sure how, you pronounce that any differently. So he has an 84 miles per hour slider, 82 miles per hour changeup, and then his two fastballs are basically at 94, 93. The differential is just not there despite his great K per 9 and hit per 9. He's going to be a little bit more difficult to control because of the walk per 9, of course. I go ahead and fail him as well. His fastball is not really too overpowering, and then only having those two off-speed pitches, one is more horizontal than vertical as well, but being that they're the same pitch speed, it's a lot easier for you to move the PCI to the left or drop the PCI than anything else, and it doesn't really change your timing too much. So I'm going to go ahead and fail him as well. Now we're going to the Milwaukee Brewers, and the Milwaukee Brewers, they got themselves Zach Brown. Now, curveball changeup, just seeing that off rip, that's a failure in my book. And then looking at his K per 9, he doesn't have high K per 9, so he's not really shrinking the PCI of any hitter. And then his fastball, it being two fastballs, that doesn't really work out too much or too well. Usually a pitcher that has a sinker as his secondary fastball is a lot better than one that has a two-seamer. 82 walk per 9, that's not bad, that's pretty good. But he just doesn't make the cut. He fails as well. So we have two starting pitchers that have failed back to back. We go to the Pirates, and the Pirates have Ke'Bryan Hayes. So Ke'Bryan Hayes, he plays third base. Not really a power hitter. 85 vision is good enough to go Hall of Fame and legend. And then his defense is the most remarkable thing out of everything. He's probably one of the best defenders in the game with 98 fielding and 99 reaction, 83 speed. If you're looking for a lockdown defensive third baseman, then 100% you go for him. But keep in mind, the only position he can play is third base since he has no secondaries, and then he's not really a power hitting third baseman, more of a contact hitting third baseman. He does pass the test, although all of those numbers are great in terms of defense and they're great in terms of offense as well. Now we go to the Cardinals. They got Nolan Gorman, and my oh my, third base is stacked out with lefties or first basemen that can play third base. It's just stacked out when it comes to stage 2. So 108 power versus right, 94 couldn't even speak there. 94 power versus left, 66 vision, has more vision than I'm pretty sure the Indians and the Twins guy. The only difference is he has to play third base or you put him at first base. Unlike those guys, he doesn't have secondary positions in the outfield. The vision is a lot better, so therefore I rank him a lot higher than those guys. 79 fielding, 77 reaction for third base. It's not great, but it's not too bad. It's definitely workable and definitely doable. With 85 arm strength, he'll be good. He's 100% worth it to put at third base, and he almost has 3 times the vision of Joey Gallo and similar power numbers, and he can 100%. If you square it up versus left-handers, he's disappearing it. So I pass him as well. Now we're on to the fun teams, the NL West, that me personally, I believe they got some of the best cards. So we start off with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and instantly I take it back. No, I'm just kidding. So he's a diamond defending center fielder with 95 reaction, so that's diamond reaction as well. 87 speed and then 75 stealing, that's pretty good as well. 93 vision means he translates to Hall of Fame and Legend. He has a pop versus righties, doesn't have so much pop versus lefties, but the 95 contact versus left and 93 vision means that his PCI isn't shrinking no matter who they bring in. And if you square it up, you can probably get yourself a nice little double, but you're not really looking for home runs too much. He reminds me a lot of Ty Cobb, but with less pop. I pass him as well. Now, going to the Colorado Rockies here, let's see who they have. They have themselves a pitcher. They have Ryan Rolison, or Rollison. I don't know why I keep saying it in Spanish. So, low fastball, and then not really too much differential. There is differential between the curveball and the slider of about 7 miles per hour there, so that's pretty good. K per 9 is also good. Walk per 9 is good as well. So, in general, what doesn't make the cut is him not having a sinker. Now, I do like the fact that, you know, there's some differential there between a curveball and a slider. Not much differential between a curveball and a changeup, and him not having a sinker makes it a lot harder to disguise the two pitches. So just for that, we're going to fail him. Now, we're going to go to the Los Angeles Dodgers, who have arguably the best starting pitcher out of all the starting pitchers. Now, you look at the hit per 9 and K per 9 and you say that's excellent. You look at the walks per 9 and you say, whoa there. And whoa there is 100% correct. He's going to be very hard to control. Or not very hard, but if you can't control the ball with Chapman, it's going to be the same situation. Now, what makes him great is you look at his sinker, you look at his fastball, you look at his slider, and you look at his curveball. So there's a 6 miles per hour differential between his slider and curveball. That's not too bad because we're not looking at his slider and curveball here. We're looking at a 95 with outlier 1, meaning outlier on his sinker. We're looking at a 98, 99 miles per hour sinker that has to match it either an 85 miles per hour changeup or an 83 miles per hour curveball. What more could you ask for? And then if you are throwing the fastball with the slider, you have a fastball that's hitting over 100, and then you throw a slider that's hitting 90s basically. So imagine him getting a fastball that's thrown at you 101 miles per hour and it has some movement on it, and then you get a 90 miles per hour slider that's almost a fastball with even more movement on it. You're basically getting 2 fastballs, just one that breaks like a madman and one that's a little bit more flat. To me, on Legend, he's going to be extremely difficult to hit, extremely difficult to go ahead and face unless your opponent can't control. If your opponent can't control, then just take walks for days. And then we have Taylor Trammell for the San Diego Padres. Now, why he's so good and why he's so appealing to everyone is his primary position is left field. He's a diamond defender there, gold reaction, so that's the downside. But 94 speed, even if he gets a bad jump, he should get there because of the speed. 71 vision, it translates to Hall of Fame, and you should be okay on Legend. Now, the power versus right, that helps him out a lot. Contact versus left, or power versus left, is not really up there, but you'll have some pop. And him having high contact versus left, it also helps out his vision a little bit more because that means it gives him a much bigger PCI. In general, he passes as well, 100%. And of course, I don't know if I said the Dodgers won pass, but he 100% passed the test as well. And then for the San Francisco Giants, the final one, we have Elio Ramos from Puerto Rico. So great hitting numbers all around. Fielding 81, arm strength 89, that's great as well. Silver reaction though, and then 81 speed. Usually in right field, you're not really too worried about having the best defender there. You just want to have a good arm and a great power hitter. His vision is a 70. We already know. I'm not repeating of how it translates. Overall, I think it's a pretty good card, and whether or not it's going to see a lot of playing time, I don't think it is, but it passes 100% as a good card to me. And that's going to be all 30 teams that we just went ahead and did. So if you did end up enjoying today's video, make sure you guys go ahead and hit that like button or red subscribe button. Don't forget to follow me on all social medias at Bhlademyst, same way it's spelled, on the YouTube channel username, and also click on the channel community tab, interact with me there. Have a blessed day and night. Stay positive, stay safe, stay blessed, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace out.